Present.
Felder.
Here.
Whitman. Stilgrave. Vining. Germaine.
Here.
Present.
Ask we all please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guide us in our deliberations and discussions this evening. May our efforts promote the good of the residents of this city and all who visit.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is the approval of the regular agenda.
Mr. Pastu, any adjustments or any comments from the council regarding the approval of the regular agenda? Seeing none.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as wrote.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilman Felder to approve the regular agenda. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and for item B, approval of payments, the amount should read $1,043,459.04, 1043459.04.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? Any items on the consent agenda? Are there any items on the consent agenda those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Items on the consent agenda. And if you need, there's copies of the agenda there as well, if you'd like to see those. These are the items that they're action items, but they're items that the council has for consideration this evening by consent. I'll take them a moment. There are two other items later on the council action items. And any items on the consent agenda, those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Yes?
I'm sorry,
So what it means is on the consent agenda, the first thing is the approval of the bills, and then each item number that says 370, then 3770, 3768, and as you go through the next ones, for instance, at the top of the second page, it's about a memorandum of understanding regarding the employee health care eligibility, a licensing agreement, mail machine licensing agreement, a topographical survey, the rail grade separation feasibility study, and then the traffic committee meeting. So if there's comments, somebody may be here that want to speak to those, now would be the time to ask to have it pulled. Council has not pulled those. We've had other meetings, work sessions, and presentations on these. So, and then we'll get to the council actions, and then we'll get to public comment at the close of the meeting. Seeing no items or no requests to pull from the agenda, motion be in order. Councilman Felder?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Lamore, that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Stilgrave? Vining? Germaine?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
Item is under presentations, communications, and public hearings. It's item 3772, and it's a public comment that was received and requested to be put on the public record at this meeting. And that's on the attachments.
So just for clarification for those here and may not be aware, when we get public comment, people can send a correspondence in. The clerk and I both received a correspondence and asked it to be put on the record. We do that by by placing them, or the clerk, I should say, does that. So they are available for anybody to read and see what the item is that they've asked to have put into the public record for the city. And that's on the
It's online as well. Yeah.
next item.
Item is item 3778, the 2020 summer tax collection report. It's a memo from the clerk treasurer's office, which was part of the packet as well.
Any comments from council on that item? I know these are communications. They are placed on the agenda to be accepted as presented. See no comments for that. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is under council action, item 3760, Father Carnes Park Improvements Contract Award and Funding Resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Pastu.
Thank you, Your Honor. Contained in the packet is a fairly lengthy resolution that reflects the complexity of the project itself, the funding sources associated with it, as well as a review for the various, not only the prime contractor, but subcontractors in the context of our responsible bidder ordinance. Overall, we're looking at a total project cost that's going to be a little over $3.7 million. To date, we've either spent or incurred $459,800 associated with the project. Most of that is with design work as well as some engineering work with that. And so the remaining amount, based on the bids that were opened last week, I believe, is $3,250,000. The project itself involves, along with the site development, construction of a building with restrooms and storage, installation of new playground equipment, installation of a splash pad, installation of tennis court and pickleball courts, open space with pedestrian trail and landscaping, paved parking lot, and site lighting. Those are the primary elements associated with the project itself. The low bid was received, I should say October 24th, not last week, but 2 weeks ago. Was submitted by Bean Truck and Excavating of Dundee. The amount of their bid was $2,650,369. Contained in there in the bid specification was an alternate that was we're recommending from a staff standpoint, which would reduce their amount by $62,000. That would involve seeding the lawn as opposed to using sod. So the total cost for Bean based on that would be $2,588,369. Along with that is also a recommendation with Pensura LLC. They are a statewide company that's went through the competitive bid process, and we're recommending that, for the installation of playground equipment, surfacing, pavilions, and a number of other amenities, the amount of that is $224,012. We're also recommending agreement with Vortex International for the splash pad. And it's also recommended the DTE Street Lighting Division for in the amount of $139,997.81, but a not to exceed amount of $150 for site lighting. And so we've just reflecting in the recital, the costs that we've incurred with Russell Design associated with the project, are also recommending that we set aside $50,000 for city engineering to do the general contract and project administration, daily oversight, permits, and then other material testing. Some of that's also associated with the $25,000 for the permits and some of the other work along with that. Recommending a 5% contingency line item, just a little under $125,000. And so moving on to the responsible bidder aspect of the process, they have the primary contractor, Bean, has complied with that, along with their subcontractors, GM and Sons, who's handling concrete, paving, and sidewalk, Steelgrave Turner Electrical as the electricians for the project, AA Bose and Sons constructing the restroom building, and then Henry W. Borgman for asphalt paving. We have 3 contractors that were under the $50,000 threshold for the responsible bidder. That would include Brighton Landscaping, who's handling seeding and irrigation, R.A. Rush Plumbing for the plumbing, and PK Contracting for the pavement marking and striping. We had two specialty contractors that exceeded the $50,000 responsible builder threshold, but did not qualify based on the criteria. Future Fence, for the fencing amount, I think their amount was $147,000, and then Court Smiths for the tennis and pickleball surface and lining. Theirs was, I believe, $57,000. With that, we're recommending that the Court Smiths, the responsible bidder, be waived as a bona fide specialty contractor. And then also that Future Fences was listed on 4 of the five primary bidders. The other didn't submit a fencing contractor, and Salenbean could not find one. So the current project budget balance that we have right now is a little over 1.5 million. So we're going to be recommending some appropriations from other sources to finish up the project, and that we're recommending finally that to go forward with it. The project would begin in the spring and be completed next fall. So on that, there's a number of items, again, that just reiterate what I just mentioned as far as the recommendations. And so at the end, I'm recommending that council just adopt the resolution with and award the contracts as recommended and the budget transfers associated with the project. I know that was a lot to go through, but again, it was a complicated, complex project with complex funding sources. So,
Thank you, Mr. Pastu. And of course, this information is within the council packet as well as available online. Any comments or should any questions or comments from council from Mr. Pastu or regarding the proposal and resolution? Councilman Felder.
Yes, I have two. So the total quote from Salenbean only ended up being about $100,000 over the engineer's estimate. Is that correct?
I believe that's the case, yes, yeah.
Yeah. And there's an additional $350,000 appropriation that needs to be made for this?
Well, based on what we have remaining, we had $1,500,000 and some change in there. And then in going through the remainder of it, the balance to that $3,250,000 is we would use some of the ARPA fund investment earnings, $153,551. The remaining assignment from general fund for the DTE tax appeal, which was $254,032. Reallocates some funding associated with the MLK Bridge project, $145,893, and then some from the fund balance in the capital projects fund, $1,185,890. That would give you the balance to complete the project.
That part I certainly understand. The reallocation of CDBG funds for the MLK Bridge, that's just going to essentially be pushed till next construction season. Is
That's
that-
exactly what's going to happen. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then, in fact, we're kind of questioning the eligibility of using CDBG for that project, which is the conservative thing was, well, let's find another source for it. But,
Gotcha.
yep.
So the disparity between the $350,000 and the $100,000 that we were overestimate, did we just not appropriate enough funds because we didn't know what it was going to be? And then we'll just cover the rest at the end? Was that always sort of the intention?
Pretty much. We just didn't know how much.
Fair enough.
yep.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to account for the extra $250,000 and where that came into play and if there was an overage in a different area.
And similar to most of the projects that we have right now, they're coming in substantially higher, that element of it. And it was a fairly revised engineer's estimate based on what we were starting to see earlier this year for different costs for projects. So,
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think it's probably a fair thing to say. The second question I have is on the responsible bidder policy. I think this is the first time that we haven't had subcontractors that fell within the requirement range in terms of the cost of the total contract that they were awarded, but were not marked as eligible according to the policy. And I think that the intention, being part of those discussions, was that there would always be a preference for those who did have the certification, but in the case that there was only one bidder present, that we would defer then to them. My question would be, what is the procedure that we would follow in the case where the general contractor says, hey, I can't find anyone else to do this. This is my guy. He can do this at this price. We're good to go. Do we require him to have multiple bids certifying that, or how do we proceed in that circumstance?
well, I think let's start with the easier one. And we just preface it by saying, well, this is the first time we've had this. And so we thought in putting together the resolution that we had to be very transparent about it, that they didn't meet the requirements. In the case of the fence contractor, the four general contractors that submitted bids had the same contractor referenced, and the fifth did not list a fence contractor. So everybody that identified of the five vendors that submitted bids, they all, four of them had the same. And in the case of Courtsmith, they really are kind of a very specialty, very recognized in the industry for the work that they do. And
It's not one of the standard trades, but it wasn't called out as one of the specific
No.
exceptions that
Yeah.
we made. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and I think Mr. Lewis had talked a little bit about that with council in the past, that there's a couple trades in there that we may be a little challenging to make sure that, actually, I'll be honest with you, I was pleased that we had as many that, complied with the requirements in there, so.
Mhm. I would have an inquiry for Director Lewis here if he thought that in light of this, if we needed any change to the procedure going forward, or how generally would you deal with this? It's sort of clear how we dealt with it this time. Are we okay with that going forward, or do we want something different?
But I think we need to ask council, are you okay with this? I mean, we were kind of shooting on the fly a little bit with it as well. And so we thought this was probably the best approach in that the fence contractor, all the four that identified a subcontractor listed the same one. And then in the case of Courtsmith with the surfacing for pickleball and tennis courts, they're pretty recognized as being a contractor recognized around the area for their quality work. And it's a very specialty type of work. So, it's just something we could talk a little bit further about it, at a work session, but we presented it this way so that it may engender a little more dialogue.
Okay, I understand. And it's my understanding that we have several amendments to that policy that we are likely going to employ in the future to refine how that's being deployed. But we're sort of we're working out the bugs. We're driving the new car to figure out what's wrong with it first, right?
Yes.
I guess as a follow-up to that, I agreed. I think that if we find that there's a particular type of work that we're looking to have done and it continues to show up that it's just not available, then we can start compiling some data to show what might be a challenge and how do we address those in the policy. So it's not a longer, right, I would say all the stuff we just talked about is because we already know that this particular type of work or business is going to be a challenge. So I think it's worth reviewing as we move forward. Yep, I agree. Any other comments or questions from council on this item, which is 3760?
Your Honor, make a motion.
Councilman Lamore?
Make a motion that the attached resolution delineating the multiple contract approvals and funding source allocations necessary be adopted.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Stalgrave on item 3760, the Father Carnes Improvement Contract Award and Funding Resolution. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Steelgrave?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Germaine?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3767, consideration to schedule a special work session and joint meeting with the Citizens Planning Commission.
Mr. Pastu?
Thank you, Your Honor. We had talked earlier this year about the need for a special meeting on November 28th. The two items that we would propose for that work session would be a review of the bids for the refuse recycling services. Those bids are due on the 14th. We'll provide you a brief summary on the work session on the 21st, but we anticipate there's going to be some significant variation in the service delivery associated with the various bids and the cost, and it's something that we think council will need some time to discuss and digest. And then the other part is to discuss further the city manager search process, since my plan is to leave at the end of April, so it's time to start putting together a plan for that process. We've done some internal work, but I think there's still a lot of decisions council will need to make in order to proceed. The other item is just scheduling a joint meeting with the Citizens Planning Commission for Monday, December 12th. We've got a handful of items, 3 items in particular, but we'll have Lucy Fortin with Manick and Smith Group regarding the proposed update to the city's Parks and Rec Master Plan, along with what we will looking as an appendix, the pedestrian and bicycle plan. The Trail Committee is scheduled to meet this Wednesday and with a request to recommend the plan itself. So Ms. Fortin would look at doing that. And then also doing the capital improvements program. The request from the Citizens Planning Commission last year was we'd like to go back to where the departments are presenting their proposed projects so that they have a good understanding of it. So it'll be a long meeting on the 12th, but we're recommending a joint meeting with both City Council and Planning Commission for that evening.
Thank you, Mr. Pastor. Any questions for city manager on these dates and obviously if things, your schedules, please let us know, city manager know if there's challenges. And we talked about these additional meetings that we're going to need to get through some of the projects as we get in before the first of the year. And some that will be after the first of the year. So, any questions on this?
Yes. The 12th, that assumes passage of the Parks and Rec Master Plan at the next,
What we would look to do, it's with the Parks and Rec Master Plan, the key deadline is to have the plan adopted by the City Council by the end of January. It would qualify for our eligibility for a grant, DNR grant for the following March, the application period to begin March. So by having it in place by the end of January is what we're targeting. So we would look to do the presentation on December 12th and then schedule probably either the first meeting in December or the second meeting in December to have City Council schedule the public hearing for the second meeting in January, which I think is the 16th or the 17th. So, but the trigger is to have a public hearing at the second meeting in January for City Council to consider adopting the 5-year Parks and Rec Master Plan along with the trail plan as well.
okay, now I have more questions. We're having the meeting regarding the capital improvements funding
Right.
before we're adopting the plan for which that funding is being proposed?
Well, the CIP is a proposed capital improvements program that's being presented on December 12th. City Council will not, and by charter, it's a weird structure, but it does not adopt and hold the public hearing on the CIP until the second meeting in February. And so you can approve the park and trail plan and then consider adoption the following month for the CIP. But that's a trigger by the city charter of the second meeting in February.
So this joint meeting is more like a work session where we can come
Yes.
together with
Yep.
the planning commission and have a joint discussion about this.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The second meeting in January will be on a Tuesday because that Monday's a holiday, so I think it's the 18th or something. Yeah, the 17th, I'm sorry. Just a future calendar. Councilman Lord, yeah.
Just make a motion.
No other questions? Councilman Lord?
Just make a motion to schedule a special city council work session for Monday, November 28th, 2022 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of reviewing and discussing refuse recycling service bids and to discuss the city manager search process. And move to schedule a joint meeting with the Citizens Planning Commission for Monday, December 12th, 2022 at 6 p.m. for presentations regarding the Parks and Recreation Plan update that includes the pedestrian and bicycle plan and to receive the proposed capital improvements program budget.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Germania. On item 3767, the consideration on this special work session and joint meeting with the Planning Commission as stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Whitman? Stilgrave? Vining? Germaine?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
I have no further items, Your Honor.
Item is council comments. It is November, so Councilman Lamore first.
Thank you, Your Honor. Some sad news to pass along tonight. An employee here, longtime employee with the City of Monroe, Chuck Bowes, lost his wife tragically yesterday, Trudy. The two of them have 3 children, all above the age of 20, but still that's a very tough loss for them. I believe Chuck and Trudy have been married for about 32 years. And I'm sure that he needs that support from us, even though he's been retired, just recently retired from the city of Monroe. He's one of our family members, so I just wanted to pass that along, that my sincerest condolences to that family, and that we are thinking of him at this time and moment. That's all, Your Honor.
Councilman Feldner.
Election day is tomorrow. If you haven't already, please exercise your right to vote. And in the interests of keeping a brief meeting, that's all I have this evening, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Whitman.
Yes, my prayers go to the Bows. Trudy was my daughter's first friend in kindergarten. And they did bluebirds and all that together. It was very sad to hear that. But I am looking forward to the lighting of the tree. And it's much warmer this year than what it has been in previous years. So I'm all excited about that. So I'm wishing everyone, I hope everyone gets a chance to go and see the lighting of the tree, and how many people in Monroe County come out for that event. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stelgrave.
Well, Your Honor, I'm going to pass along the condolences to the Bowes family as well. Remember, get out and vote, and also mark for the tree lighting. That's all I have.
Okay. Councilwoman Vining.
I don't have any comments this evening, thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Germaine.
Thank you. I'm excited about the tree lighting as well. I will be providing some buses for some transporting. I'll be working down here, and also there's a walk for warmth. 11, oh, was that already? That was last Saturday, wasn't it? 11:05, I'm sorry. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
My apologies.
No problem. I just have, Councilman
I
Lamar,
just
go
had
ahead.
one more
please
thing to
do.
add that I don't want to forget about. This upcoming Friday is Veterans Day.
Right.
We want to make sure that we acknowledge our veterans in this community, and without them, we wouldn't have our true freedom and democracy here. So tomorrow would be naught if it weren't for our veterans. So just wanted to remind everybody of that.
Thank you. I do have a few items, and I'm going to start in an order. First, of course, as was mentioned, tomorrow's Election Day. Please vote if you haven't already. And I'll leave the rest of that to the clerk. I know she usually does a review about the precincts and the polls. Second, of course, Veterans Day is this week, and while it's a holiday, but it's more than just a holiday. And City Hall will be closed, but I hope that everybody takes the opportunity to pause and think about our veterans and think about their sacrifices, and those that are here with us and those that are no longer with us. So regarding the activities around Veterans Day, St. Mary's, the parade is actually going to be on Saturday, the 12th. And it begins at St. Mary's Park. It's a different route this year, so don't be looking down Monroe Street, because it's going to meet at St. Mary's parking lot and go on East Elm Avenue and conclude at the River Race National Battlefield Park. Of course, also at the park is the Field of Flags display. I want to thank the Exchange Club and also the Monroe High School City Student Council, Student Council and football team to help the Exchange Club in putting all the flags out there. If you've not been by, please do, and take an opportunity and again, as the veterans, as you see, thank them. Another item related to Veterans Day, and I know there's many veterans we have, they all provide service, and we have a veteran I see with us in the audience this evening. But there's many that have stories to tell. Please, if you have the opportunity, just thank and then see what they say and thank again. But it was on Sunday's paper was a news article in Monroe News, and it was a fantastic article about the legacy of a family in our community, and the article about the Chappelle military career and family that goes back to Civil War through World War II and most recent wars. And Lieutenant Colonel Brian Chappelle, he completed his time with the Department of Defense in Washington, D.C. And I know we've had opportunities to honor the family and him as we went through, but I think about just to see the photos, man. I have it here. I have a copy of the paper. and think about the legacy and history. So please think about all of our veterans and thank them. The tree lighting was mentioned, and yes, the tree lighting is a great event for the city. It is on Friday, November 18th, from 4 to 9 p.m. Earlier start this year because we're partnered with the Vintage Market, and they're helping with some activities and vendors. But the tree lighting will be at 7 p.m. sharp, at 7 p.m., but all the other lighted elements will be leading into that. Last thing I have, and I want to bring this up really for council's attention, the traffic committee met last month, and it was an agenda item. The item that were there for action was very simple about some spaces related to the area around the fire station. But one of the items that was on there, and I said I would let the person know that we'd talk about it and have an opportunity. So if you, it was regarding item 3762, and it was request was to put up deaf child signs on the street. We don't have a policy related to that. So I'm bringing that to council's attention, something for us to discuss, but maybe it's a presentation for Mr. Lewis in the future, Mr. Pastou, just to quickly why and where we're at and what those circumstances are and what we really should be doing and placing signs and some of the options that we gave the family about that item. It was on Wolverine Street. So it's just something for the future, and you can ask further about it if you like, and we'll see to it in the future. That is all my comments. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
So tomorrow, as has already been mentioned, is Election Day. It's the state general election, so we'll have state races as well as some local races. There's the partisan section of the ballot, which still involves straight party voting if you choose to exercise that option. But you can also do a split ticket, and without getting too much into the weeds, because I could talk elections for hours. I won't, though. I'll just say that if you have questions, we have election inspectors, if you're at the precinct, who are going to be able to answer those questions. We cannot comment in terms of the proposals or candidates, and obviously direct you in any way to vote. But we can explain things such as split tickets and straight party voting, et cetera. So they'll be happy to help you. They've spent time in training, and what they don't know, they call us for and we get the answers for you. If you have an absentee ballot, you can still turn that in here at City Hall. You could also take it to one of the precincts and turn it in there, and then a member of the clerk's office will come and pick it up. If you have an absentee ballot and you have decided you don't want to vote it, please bring it with you to the polling location. It can be turned in. It will be marked spoiled. It will be spoiled in the system we have here at City Hall, and then you will be able to proceed to vote. The safeguard is that when we spoil it in our system here at City Hall, if that ballot were to show up later in the day, we'll know it because it'll be identified by its number and it would be rejected. And then it would trigger some other things that we won't go in here in tonight, but suffice it to say, election crime is on everyone's minds, and we're prepared to investigate fully if that should occur in the city of Monroe. The city of Monroe voters that I have found over the 8 to 10 years that I've been here really are just interested in coming to vote. They're all very respectful. They're very just interested in coming in and doing their business. So I think I appreciate that. I appreciate the reverence which they hold voting in this city, and I'm convinced that will continue tomorrow. But if there are any issues, we are prepared. The staff at City Hall has been wonderful in supporting engineering, police, et cetera. Too many to name, but suffice it to say, everybody's very supportive of our efforts, and I believe it'll be another great day. Information is available either by calling the city clerk's office or by going to the monroemi.gov. There's a place right on the homepage about elections. Click on that, and it should answer any of your questions or direct you to phone numbers that you can call to get answers. So we look forward to serving you tomorrow. We'll be up bright and early. We'll be starting our day at about, we'll leave here at 5:30, but the precincts open at 7, and they close at 8 o'clock, and as long as you're in line by 8 o'clock, you'll be able to vote. That's
Thank
all I
you.
have.
Thank you for that review.
Thank you.
City Manager, Mr. Pastou.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple items. First, I sent out a note that Human Resource Director Dr. Everly and I will like to meet with council in advance of the meeting on the 28th. I had indicated we'd like to meet 21st, Tuesday, or Monday, the 21st, and Tuesday, 22nd. We're actually probably going to reach out and see if anybody's interested the preceding Thursday and Friday. So we just like to give you a little background in advance of that meeting on the 28th, rather than just have you come in blind. And then the other item I wish to, just mention tonight, more details, is obviously we've got, the DTE's plan and how that may impact our operations in the future and the timing. And my intent is to put together a plan, in addressing that, even though it's 7 years down the road where we'll feel the full impact. It's never too early to start planning. I do think there's a realistic path to get to where we can still maintain services, but we'll put something together. Certainly, Mr. Sell will be the vetting the numbers to make sure that we're all comfortable with that. But I do think it's important to put out there as soon as possible a plan so that not only our employees but the community knows how we are looking to respond to that. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. So next is citizens' comments. So the opportunity for those that are present, if they wish to make any comments, just be mindful, as I always do with the kind of the rules of the chamber, please come to the podium, state your name, your residence or jurisdiction of residence, and if you have any comments, please address them to the body here, and 3 minutes. So if you have any comments, now is the time. Any comments from those present here this evening? Yes, please come forward.
My name is Jessica Peters, and I live in Frenchtown. I patronize downtown Monroe 3-4 times a week. I submitted a comment to Ms. Lavoie and asked for it to be shared. I've never been to one of your meetings, so this is new for me, so forgive me if I'm not doing it exactly right.
You're doing great.
But I just want to share with you my feeling, and that is about the Museum of Horror. I don't believe that that's a good thing for the city. I understand your stance on of discriminating or not discriminating against different types of business, but I think that there is some planning that happens in the downtown area, certainly in the Downtown Development Authority, whatever, your organizations that do these things, and I believe that you want a family-friendly downtown area, and I've been a resident of Monroe for 32 years, so it's always been a family-friendly area, and I think that there should have been a little bit more public information, and you might have gotten more static about it, because we like to shop, we like to dine, we like to, like you said, the tree lighting, Santa Claus is coming, you've got parades, Memorial Day, you've got all kinds of family things that you do. And having a museum of horror is not something that I think fits in there. I think you wouldn't allow, at this point, I think you wouldn't allow an adult bookstore. I don't think you would allow a strip club. And I think it's in the name, the Museum of Horror does not fit. And I would like you, I would definitely ask you at this moment to rethink how you could do this in a better way to serve the community. If you want a family-friendly community, that wouldn't be in the downtown area. Certainly it could be somewhere else where you wouldn't have to patronize it if you don't want to. If you're walking by with small children, grandchildren, you don't have to look at that. You don't have to patronize it if you don't want to. So if it was elsewhere, it might be better served. But that's my opinion, and I wanted to share it with you.
Hey, Jessica, thank you for your comments this evening. I know there's been some discussion, I don't know if, about, I guess, zoning and allowing and permissible use and that. I don't know if there's any comment, Mr. Budd, or not. But if not, we can obviously maybe provide something at the following meeting. I think of the item, whether that's people choose to attend and participate of any business downtown. I mean, it's also slated as a museum, and we have other museums. I may not be everybody's liking, as I say. We have stores that may not be their liking, but we're kind of there are some regulations as far as permissible or use or not. Mr. Buds, any comment? If not, we can
Your Honor, I would just say briefly that I think from the city's perspective, the obligation is to follow its zoning ordinances regarding use and to ensure a certificate of occupancy is obtained. And beyond that, generally speaking, the city doesn't make substantive decisions on what a business owner would do within their business as long as it's with a certificate of occupancy and consistent with the use permitted under the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for being here, Jessica and Ms. Peters, and your comments are for everybody to hear as well. Thank you. Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, sir. Just come forward, please. Your name and address or jurisdiction of residence.
My name is Dan Moran. Hello, Deb. You know what I'm here for. I have a complaint.
Are you a resident or?
I live at 638 Navarre Street, Monroe.
Okay, very good.
Okay, my complaint is with the building department. My neighbor seems like he could build fences and he can cross other people's property line. And I call down to City Hall and I tell him he crossed the line. She says, well, the inspector inspected it. Well, I says, he crossed the line. I says, there's a stake, and I got a picture of the stake. He would have tripped over it. So I know the building inspector didn't go and inspect it because the fence is supposed to run east to west. Well, he's got one that goes east to west, and then it goes north, and then he's got another one, and I'm going to and I wanted to separate the property, and they told me, okay, on your zoning, decorative fence. There could be a question for you. Decorative fence, according to Monroe, is a fence that has a 1x3 decorative post. It's a decorative fence or a chain link fence going out to the road. What's he got? He's got a 3-foot privacy fence going out to the road with a 4x4 as a post. Now, he has firewood sitting back there that he's probably selling because he owns a lawn care business. He dumps stuff back behind on this property. It's an empty lot. There's no house, no nothing, no zoning. It's all zoned residential. And he's got lawn care trailers in back there where he could park them in his yard. He's got go-karts. Building inspector says they got to be on 2-inch rock foundation or something. Go-kart, gas-powered vehicle sitting back there. His Jeep has been back there for 3 days. And he lives 2 doors away from me. Why can't he park? I have a feeling it's because he works for Sterling State Park and he's getting special treatment. I told the city, about him. I said, he's got firewood. Well, we can't see it from the road. Come in my backyard. They won't do it. I show a building inspector that stake I'm talking about where the fence goes past it. He goes, well, you got to take him to civil court over it. Now, if you're doing your job, how can you approve that? You can't approve it when it's right there in front of you. How can you approve? So then I said, so I could build a 3-foot fence from here to here just so my neighbor don't say nothing. Well, no, you can't do that. I can't do it, but he can do it. The building inspectors I call, they're tired of me calling. I've been complaining about this guy for a year. And I finally just had it. So I made a phone call and Debbie said she'd take care of it in a few days. And I knew you guys were going to be here today. So I come and I just don't want no repercussion. If I get my building permits, you got to get yours too.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Miranda. You're at your 3 minutes. Is there a final comment? And then I might have a comment to make.
No, it's just, I want this guy.
Okay.
I want the stuff taken care of.
Okay.
If the building inspectors say he has to have this, and
Okay. Don't leave. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Pasto, I believe you might recently, some of this is.
I heard a
Sheriff
little bit
Ford,
this
do you have-
afternoon, late this afternoon, so we'll follow up on it.
Okay, and I know working internally with the building officials and others and follow-ups and call back to Mr. Moran. All right, appreciate it. I know they have your number.
Yeah, well,
Okay, so that's a good, in a good sense, I mean that, seriously. So we'll make sure that you get a call after they look into it
I
further.
can talk to the secretary, he gets all snotty with me.
All right, well, they'll,
I'm gonna leave that alone.
right, Mr. Pasteur, a staff person will get back with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments from those present here this evening? Any further comments? No further comments, a motion would be in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Moore? Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Stillgrave? Yes. Vining?
Yes.
Jermaine?
Yeah.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. And thank you.